This video is designed to support you with the facilitation of Lesson 42 of the 5th grade Excel curriculum, which focuses on interpreting and computing quotients of fractions. The lesson begins with some fluency practice around division. Students should have 5 minutes to complete this fluency activity. And as you determine what you're going to review, pay attention to how students are performing on the 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s, and those should be the problems you review. Students often struggle with multiplying those digits, so they'll likely struggle with division as well. And then you jump into the heart of the lesson. This first example helps students use a model to divide fractions. And we're trying to solve the problem 3/4 divided by 3/8. And this starts by helping students understand that we really want to figure out how many groups of 3/8 are in 3/4. So we start by modeling 3/4. We have a fraction bar, we're dividing it into fourths. Right under the model for 3/4, you want to put and show kids how to put 1/8 models under 3/4, directly under, to make sure they're able to compare well. What's important is that the whole is the same size. So it should not look any different. It should be the same size. Then they are separating the 1/8 model into 3 groups of 8 so that they can clearly see that there are 2 groups of 3/8 in 3/4. So that's how we get 2. When we go to the next problem, this is supporting students with using the standard algorithm. You really want to help kids with some of the vocabulary first. So we're doing the same problem, but with the standard algorithm. So we're dividing 3/4 by 3/8. And it's telling students to write the reciprocal of the divisor. So you first want to help students remember that the divisor is the second term in my problem. So that's where we get 3/8. And the reciprocal is the inverted fraction. So the reciprocal of 3/8 is 8/3. Don't skip this step. Make sure students are really clear about the definition of those terms. Because when we get to step 2, now that we have written the reciprocal of the divisor, we now need to multiply by the dividend. What's a dividend? Help students remember that that first term is the dividend. That's how we get the problem, 3/4 times 8/3. Step 3 is to multiply the numerators and then the denominators, and then they'll write the product in simplest form. And you might have to support students with determining how we get 2 from 24/12. So they might need some support with that division, which you can take them back to the fluency activity that you did at the start of the lesson. It's really helpful for students to understand that division, or remember, division is the opposite of multiplication. Therefore, we can use multiplication to check our answer. So don't skip this step where you're checking your answer. They move to example 2, which is now a different problem. Students are dividing 8/10 by 1/5. Again, they are writing this division problem as a multiplication problem using the reciprocal of the divisor. They're going to multiply, write the product in simplest form. Step 4, instead of using multiplication to check my answer, students are using a model to check their answer. This model is very similar to the model they did in the first example, to show that not only can we divide to figure out that the answer is 4, but I can use a model to determine that there are 4 groups of 1/10, 1/5, and 8/10. Now students are going to try on their own. I would allow students, give them the option to either use the standard algorithm or to create a model so that they can see that there are 10 groups of 1/12 and 5/6. If you aren't sure or you feel like your students need support with both, push them to do it both ways. This will help them as they get into the practice. In the first set of practice problems, you really want to make sure you're paying attention to the models students are drawing and make sure their holes are exactly the same to support them with comparing. As you get to questions 4 through 9, this is asking students to just write the related multiplication problem. You want to do a lot of laps here and make sure that every single student is able to write the correct multiplication problem. Here we don't care about the answer. We're looking for how students set it up. So you are lapping here, lapping a lot and looking for the correct setup, so that when they get to questions 10 through 18, they're able to solve appropriately and write the quotient in simplest form. If you have students that are struggling to get the correct answer in simplest form, so for example, if we look at number 10 and they're able to get 21 over 24, allow them to move on so that you can make sure they can set up and multiply. Come back and you'll have to support students with their division so that they can write answers in simplest form. So in this lesson today, there are a few things that you want to make sure you pay attention to. One, students are drawing correct models. And two, students are able to write related multiplication facts, problems. When students are able to land those two skills, that will support them in mastering the skill of dividing fractions.